Well, good morning. It's Sunday. I'm on my way to church, as always. Let's see if they'll let me serve as an altar boy this Sunday. If they turn me down again, I might just quit. But I've been saying that for the past 20 years. So what am I going to talk about today on Sunday? There's nothing happens on Sunday. Well, Sunday's the day that you get to watch all the talking heads on TV. And I spent a disproportionate amount of my valuable time watching these stupid talking heads. So I want to talk about one of the latest myths out there, perpetrated by Donald Trump, if you could believe that. I know. Who would ever thought that would happen? So every time he's questioned or wants to say something about this judgment against him in New York for $350 million, which is, with interest, I understand, going to be about $450 million. Then if he's going to post a bond, he'll have to post, prospective interest as well as past interest. So if he has to post a bond, it'll be over $500 million. And he's going to have to post a surety bond, which means cash. So good luck with that one. But the thing he keeps saying over and over again was there was no victim here, and because the banks were prepaid, and we gave them our evaluations, but then it was up to the bank to do their own evaluation to determine what our property was really worth. And if they didn't do it, that's not on us, that's on them. Don't blame us. They chose not to do it, or if they did do it, whatever they came up with, they were satisfied with it. And so, why should I have to pay a fine if the banks didn't do their job? So here's the problem with that, and that's something here's something I didn't think of, and this is one of the reasons I get upset with these programs that put on all these talking heads. But they don't put on people who are in a position to really know things. And you've heard me rag about how these lawyers get up there and say things that are wrong, like Donald Trump has to post a bond before he can take an appeal from a federal court decision. That's just as wrong as it can be. But, so I'm talking to my neighbor, Cindy. She's a dear friend of mine. And Cindy says, I'm a loan officer. And I said, well, that's right, you are. She said, yeah. And she said, loan officers don't do an independent evaluation of your assets when you're applying for a loan, other than if you're applying for a loan for, say, the purchase of real estate, they will do an analysis of the value of the real estate for which you want the loan. The rest of the information that we receive has to do with your overall financial condition. So if you come and tell us you have, $600 million in the bank someplace, or you have it in stock accounts, we don't go check on that. We accept your affidavit that that's what you have. And if you tell us that you have real estate assets and you list them and you put their net worth at them, we don't, unless we're financing those properties, we accept what you represent because you're saying it under oath. So we accept your representation, and she's talking about lending officers, accept the representations of the person seeking the loan as to their overall assets and liabilities. Because she said, first place, we'd have no time to go around checking out every single representation that someone made on a loan application as to what their worth is. And I said, I never hear that on any of these shows. No one ever says, wait a minute, they don't check the evaluations that you put on properties unless it's a property for which you're seeking the loan. I never hear anyone say that. And now that I hear that, I said, well, that's a major important point. Everything he's saying about it's up to the banks and the banks do their own independent evaluation is a crock. Why do they say these things? It just drives me nuts. The other thing that drives me nuts is, when it's a victimless crime, the banks, they check these things. They have loan officers. They have to respond to their board of directors and so on. Well, he's not getting these loans from my bank, Chase Manhattan. No, he's not. He's not getting the loans from major solid banks because major solid banks won't do business with him, and really won't do business with him now. So he's got Deutsche Bank, and then he's got some other bank that's a lending organization that nobody ever heard of, and they're thrilled to have his business. These loan officers. Finally, Deutsche Bank said no mas, as they say in my country. But so he walks in there, he's Donald Trump with all of his hype and his name and his wealth and all of his buildings, and you're some little loan officer sitting there in a local Deutsche Bank office, and here comes this guy and he says, I want to do business with you. I think you and I are going to be close friends. And the bank says, wow, this is Donald Trump. We're going to be partners with him, and we're going to be his lender, and wow, look at this, look at all the money we're going to make from having him as a client, not just for this transaction, but for many in the future. I as this president of the local bank, I am in clover. So if they don't look real carefully, none of that comes out. I noticed in that trial, and I followed it pretty carefully. No, I don't need that from you, Craig. No, it's true, I don't, okay? When you get to be my age, you're lucky to have a life of any kind. Now, I'm not telling you how old I am. Suffice it to say, Donald Trump's too young, Joe Biden's too old. You can do the math. Oh, I forgot, you don't do math. Yeah, most people don't. So, I do. I minored in calculus in college at the University of Michigan. The International Championships of Champions of the Universe and the Galaxy. Go Blue. Why are we talking about football? It's even football season anymore. How depressing is that? I had to go through all yesterday, which was Saturday, without watching a single football game. My life is over. Not literally. No. Stop it. Stop it, you people. No. Tell those doctors to get out of here. Out. Oh, and did you notice? The tree's gone. You thought I couldn't do it, didn't you? Gone. Christmas is now officially over. That's right. And the next big holiday coming up is my birthday, December 2nd. Don't forget, I'm taking presents early this year. It's good news for you. People like to put things off. You can do it early. Get those cards, forget the cards and letters, unless they have, cash inside. No checks, just cash. I don't want to tell the IRS about this stuff. What was I talking about? Yes. So, the talking heads not giving us full disclosure about what's going on with these issues, and they matter. So please get somebody on them when you're talking about law who's dealt with these issues, right? And part of the problem with this is, and I love U.S. attorneys. My dad was the first assistant U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Indiana right after he handled the status of forces prosecutions in France. Actually, all of Europe, we were stationed in France. And he came back, and because of Truman's intervention, he became the first assistant U.S. attorney. If you don't know what first assistant means, talk to some U.S. attorney, and they will tell you. It means he basically was the fellow running the office. He was in charge of all the trials, and so it's the most significant position in the U.S. attorney's office after the U.S. attorney himself. So Dad had that position. I had a tremendous respect for my dad. He was the best lawyer I ever knew. But most of these people they put on to talk about legal issues and educate us, the ignorant, unwashed public, comes from people who are former U.S. attorneys, and almost always their background is in criminal law. On civil litigation is a very different animal. And I know I was a public defender, and I've also, represented people in criminal cases through a special appointment by federal judges. I understand the criminal side of things, but mainly I do things on the civil side. And I know because I've had significant judgments against defendants in civil litigation, and I know they're not required to post a bond in order to take an appeal. I had one case in Connecticut. I won't bore you with lawyer stories, hopefully, but this is brief. So I had a case in Connecticut. I ended up with a $5 million judgment on behalf of a copyright client that I had. So 30 days went by, and didn't go by. And the attorney representing the defendants filed a notice of appeal. So the day after he filed the notice of appeal, I sent the marshal out to the his client's factory and had a chain put on the door. Shut it down. So I get a call from this guy. He says, "What the hell's going on? You can't. What did you do?" I said, I'm seizing your client's factory. I'm going to sell it." "What? You can't do that. We've taken an appeal." I said, "So what?" He said, "Well, once I file an appeal, the action is stayed. You can't enforce a judgment if there's an appeal pending." Well, this was in Connecticut, and this fellow had happened to had a sterling career as a member of the Connecticut bar, but he had no federal experience. I said, "That's the law in Connecticut." He said, "That's right." I said, "It's not the law in federal court." He's in silence. "It isn't?" I said, "No, it isn't. The only way you can keep me from enforcing the judgment is to post a bond." "Well, can you hold off closing the..." I said, "No, go post a bond. I'll take the chain off." So an hour later, I get a call back. "We've posted the bond." So I checked. They posted the bond. I took the chain off. Yeah. After they finished their appeal, my client got paid immediately, because that's one of the beauties of having somebody post a bond. You collect right away, which is, I predict, is what's going to happen with Trump and the E. Jean Carroll case. So that's it for now. I just wanted to let you know that, because it was like, I think I know a lot of things, but I'm always surprised by what I don't know. And that thing when Cindy said that about loan officers and what they do, it's like, yeah, that hit home. I said, yeah, I didn't know that. Maybe I should have known it. Maybe it's common knowledge, but you'd never know it to listen to these people on TV. So the moral of the story is, anytime you hear something on TV, or you hear some explanation, tune in here to see if I have anything to say about it. And I probably will, and it's probably not worth listening to. So, you know what? Ignore that last advice I gave you. The only advice you should accept is to never accept advice from me. Happy Sunday.